Namaste, beautiful yogis and yoginis. Welcome to our first lesson. So, a lot of students ask me, what is yoga? What is meant by yoga? And it's a very good question. It's usually the students who want to practice for the first time, or even students who are so used to doing the postures and not really understanding what is the point of doing them. So, in one sentence, what I would say is that yoga, from my interpretation, is the union between the body, the mind, and the soul or the spirit. And I guess this means different things for different people. So ultimately, yoga, translated from Sanskrit, the ancient language spoken in ancient India, basically translates to union. So this is the union that is spoken about: the body, the mind, the spirit, or the soul, or the prana, the energy, however you want to look at it. So a little bit now about the history of yoga. Yoga was first heard of or introduced by the Vedas, or the teachings, almost 10,000 years ago. So the teachings of Hinduism. So it was one of the branches of many that was mentioned, and it was only about 5,000 years ago that Patanjali Maharishi actually got into more depth, the father of yoga, that got into more depth and created more of an understanding about the 8 different limbs of yoga and what yoga is, and how to practice yoga and the ultimate goals of yoga. So that will be in the next video, the 8 limbs of yoga, which I will talk about in more depth. So going back to the union that we were talking about. So a lot of people will tell you that yoga means different things to them, and that's absolutely fine. So I think as long as we are practicing yoga, the world would be a better place. If only more people would practice more yoga, it would definitely be a more calmer and more peaceful and more compassionate world that we live in. So for me, what I can say also from a psychological point of view is that through my studies of psychology and also training to be a therapist and working with patients, is that we have in modern society, we have a lot of mental health disorders that are around, and I feel that a lot of this is coming from this not a very good union between the body, the mind, and the spirit and the soul, a disconnection between these three. And I do feel that by understanding the philosophies and teachings of yoga and trying to meditate, as well as practicing the asana yoga and also the other limbs of yoga, we can be the better versions of ourselves. So for me, yoga is not just practicing the asanas, the positions, the postures, and doing these beautiful, intricate back bends, forward bends, and balances on your head. It's not just this, but it's more about what is going on inside for you. What do you feel when you are practicing yoga? What is it bringing up? It's understood that we store a lot of emotions in our bodies, the different parts of our bodies. And for me, and as well as our teachings of yoga, it's about doing these stretches, getting into these positions, breathing the correct way, and releasing these trapped emotions that we might be carrying around for years and years and years without even knowing, without even being aware of them. I can tell you that during my training to be a therapist, I never really experienced any emotional release or really got to face my emotions head on, but it was during a yoga session, a yin yoga session, that for the first time these emotions came up. They were released. There were tears coming out in a yoga session, yes, that I never even knew that I had this pain or these emotions stored inside me. Really powerful stuff. So again, I hope that with this journey that I will guide you through and we will go through together, that perhaps you can find your own translation or definition of what yoga is for you, and I hope that we can enjoy this journey as well as learning so much more about ourselves, and hopefully become the better versions or the best versions of ourselves. So this was just a very brief tip of the iceberg, so to speak, about what is yoga. And I think with practice, with understanding, you will find out what yoga is for yourselves. Until next time, peace, Om Shanti.